Good morning, everyone. While we're waiting for others to get in and get settled, now is a good time to grab anything you need to get comfortable. Maybe it's a glass of water or a hot cup of tea or coffee. Also, if you have items at home and you'd like to smudge with me, it's a good time to grab those items as we begin to ignite the healing within. It's Wednesday, everyone. We're in the middle of the week, and it's a new day. This is our opportunity to take stock of how we're feeling and how we might want to move forward in our wellness path and journey for today. This is our opportunity to reset. And when we smudge, we can cleanse, renew, start again. Aloha, kakahiaka. Hello and good morning. My name is Malia and I'm a community healer at the HIR Wellness Institute. We are a nonprofit organization that focuses on the mental health and wellness of our relatives of Turtle Island, as well as other Indigenous and underserved communities, and also victims of crime. You can join us here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. At 8 a.m., where we will always breathe, stretch, explore ways of integrating self-care and wellness into our daily lives, and we will always honor our cultural traditions, our customs, our ancestry, our strength, and our resilience. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, relatives. I'm really excited for this morning's R&R. I do have a new technique that I'm going to be teaching this morning, a healing technique. So I'm really glad you're here with us today. But before we get into it, I'd like to take a moment to recognize our HIR Wellness Institute team member who is here with us. We have one of our counseling interns and also an extraordinary woman, Odessa. Good morning, Odessa. How are you doing today? When you see the HIR Wellness Institute commenting this morning, that is Odessa. She is our moderator. Do know, Odessa, like myself, we're here to serve you in this circle of care. We each bring, just like you do, relatives, our own unique talents and gifts, our own unique insight. And in this circle of care, while we're practicing community-activated medicine, we're all here to be able to lean into and support each other. So this time is for you, relatives. Good morning, Roberta. I see you. Good morning, Marissa. And to all of our relatives out there, I want to say good morning. You are welcome here. We're so happy that you're here with us. When we're practicing community-activated medicine, my role here is simply to remind you or let you know that your healing journey and your path is yours. You get to determine how you walk this path. You get to determine what it is that you need. That's my role, is just to remind you of that, or to help you to remember that, or just let you know in case you forgot. And also, in community-activated medicine, My title as a community healer is just a reflection of who you are. Because when we're practicing community activated medicine, that means each and every one of us has within ourselves our own ability to do our own part of our healing. Body, mind, spirit, heart. It feels magical sometimes, but it is not. This is the power of the community. And that's the power of you. So thank you so much for joining us today, relatives. With that, let's go ahead and start with a check-in. How are you doing today? And you are more than welcome to comment how you're doing in the comment section. That's great. Because when you begin to share how you're feeling, we can start to normalize a whole range of your emotions, whether you're having a great day, whether you're having a not so great day, whether you're feeling happy, whether you're feeling invigorated, or maybe you're even feeling sad or anxious. But however you're feeling, it's okay. And for those of our relatives out there, if you're not used to gauging, I know people ask us probably on a regular basis if you're out and about or at the grocery store. Even the employees might say, "How are you doing?" Or you walk by past a stranger and they're like, or maybe even someone at work and they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And you just kind of go over the motions and you're like, "I'm good," but you might not be good. I really mean, how are you doing? I genuinely mean it. You don't have to share, but take some time for yourself to really allow yourself to observe and notice what it is you're feeling. You don't have to try to suppress it. You don't have to deny it if you're feeling a certain way. Now, also too, like I said, if you're not used to being asked how you're doing, your body's not used to even registering how you're doing or what you're feeling, let's take a moment and do a body scan. And what I mean by that is we can just close our eyes if we want to and just sort of get in touch with the way our body's feeling, because that can really indicate to us where we're at, maybe mentally or emotionally. So with a body scan, you can close your eyes if you want to. And we're just going to scan from head to toe, starting at the top of our heads, working our way down to our forehead. Pay attention and notice, are there areas in your body where you might be feeling tension, anxiety? It might even come off as physical pain or discomfort. I'm scanning to my temples and down to my jawline, to your neck and shoulders. A lot of times we feel tight in our shoulders. How does your chest feel? Does it feel tight, or you feel like you're breathing easy? We can scan on down to our tummy. Pay attention, maybe your tummy feels empty and light, or maybe it feels full. You might even be feeling some indigestion, or you may even be feeling some food in there from yesterday. We'll scan on down to our hips. How are your hips feeling? And to our legs, our knees, our calves, our heels of our feet, the arches of our feet, our toes. And we'll work our way back up from our shoulders down to our arms, our elbows and our forearms, our wrists and our fingertips. And let's go ahead and scan our heart, paying attention to the feelings that you might be having there. Perhaps there's feelings or emotions that are lying heavy, or maybe your heart feels full and joyful, or maybe it feels light and free. And finally, we're going to scan our thoughts. Are there thoughts in there that kept you up late last night? Are there things that were kind of circulating? You get that when you're laying in bed and it's like midnight and you're like, why am I thinking about all these painful things? Why am I thinking about these anxious things? Why am I worrying about this now? And with that, relatives, if you want to check in, We can talk about it. Judgment free. Let's reflect on it. We can even release it. Going to the comment section, Odessa says, I'm doing well. I've been overwhelmed with many different to-dos, but slept well last night and feel rested and ready for the day. Glad to be here as always. Glad to hear you're getting some sleep, Odessa. It's been good to hear that the last couple times. Good morning, Indigo. How you been? Indigo says good morning to everyone. Avery, good morning. She says good morning to all. So glad you're both here with us. So if you want to check in, relatives, please do. And if I may, I want to check in too. Last night, I could not sleep. I eventually fell asleep, probably not too late, probably around 12:30. But I was sort of overcome with guilt about mistakes that I made and decisions that I made in my past. And we're talking about not like yesterday or a couple months ago or even a year ago. These were things that are still haunting me from um almost more than a decade now. I was thinking about my son and his dad. And when my son was a toddler, he was about 2 years old, and I was in a situation where I decided to leave the relationship. It was not a healthy relationship. And so we separated. And for some reason last night, it was haunting me. And I was really upset about it. I felt guilty. Um, I felt sad. I was feeling like I made some mistakes and wondering if I made the best decision for my son. And that kept me up last night, and I was thinking, you know, no matter how much we focus on doing actions like self-care and all these kinds of things, which are really, really good for us, we'll still encounter those moments where we just aren't feeling okay. We'll still encounter these moments where we might feel emotions that aren't serving us. And so it occurred to me that there's a healing technique that I should touch on with you. And I don't think I've ever talked about it here before. And it's called emotional freedom tapping. So have any of our relatives out there heard about emotional freedom tapping before? Okay. So if you have, feel free to comment about it. We can talk about it. I'm going to go into it a little bit today. And I'm going to show you some techniques that are really powerful, but they're really simple to do. I won't get too much into the teaching of it. I'll just we'll get right into how you can actually do it. And we can talk a little bit more about it, but I don't want to overwhelm your brain on this stuff. We can just kind of go over the motions, and I'll slowly introduce it to us as we go on throughout these videos every day that we meet. And we'll do it every time that we meet. All right, but before we get into that, I do want to read some of our comments. Karen says, good morning, relatives. I woke up pretty early this morning and have been trying to practice self-care ever since. I had a very tough day yesterday, mentally, emotionally, and trying my best to practice positive self-talk today. Thank you for sharing, Karen. Remember, we're here if you need us. Do call the Cares Warm line. And that's a reminder to our relatives out there too. If you're having one of those days, like how Karen's talking about, has anxiety, or she's feeling overwhelmed today, she's doing some really great things like positive self-talk and lots of acts of self-care, but she's still feeling like things are tough, Relatives, if you're not feeling all right, I'll remind you every time that we meet, it is okay not to be okay. We go through it. Even when we're consciously and intentionally taking care of our mental health, even when we're doing all those right things, there are times when we're not going to be okay. That's kind of like the cycle of life, right? I always compare it to natural cycles, like the moon. It waxes and it wanes. We have periods of light and brightness, and we have periods of darkness. It's like the ocean tide, it ebbs and it flows. And like the mountaintops, there are peaks and there are valleys. Sometimes we feel high and sometimes we feel low. That's part of the beauty of nature. That's part of the beauty of who we are. Yes, we do experience moments of darkness. We do experience this. This is part of our natural cycle. Remember, when you're feeling that way, there's things we can do. I call this our medicine kit. One of our elders, I used to call it our toolkit, and one of our elders here called it a medicine kit. And I said, that's beautiful, because that's what it is. This is our medicine kit. It's a sort of like, imaginary kit. Well, it's not really imaginary, but you can't see it. Where we have all these tools, healing techniques, and actions that we can go to when we need them. Let our cares warm line be one of those things. Let deep breathing, gratitude, taking a nap, community activated medicine, a morning elixir, nature, water, calling a doctor, laughing, journaling. There's infinite things that we can do that you have in your self-care medicine kit where you can tap into when you feel like you need something. And remember, part of that is our Cares Warm line. It's open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can call or text. Okay? Because if you're not doing okay, one of the most helpful things, I think, at least for me, is to talk it out. You can talk to someone you trust, like a family member or a friend. It might even be a coworker that you really trust. And then you can call or text our Cares Warm line. It's open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can, if you text or call within 24 hours, you'll get a response back from one of our Cares Warm counselors. Sometimes relatives, that person is me. Sometimes not, sometimes it is. But we can talk about it. Judgment-free, stigma-free. Can hold space for you. Whether you're feeling stressed or anxious or sad or upset. And although it's not a crisis line, the beauty of the Cares Warm line is you can just talk it out. You can just, maybe you don't even know what you're calling to talk about. You just have a feeling where you're like, yeah, I'm not okay right now. And I think I just need to just go through the motions, talk it out, and see where I'm at. That's what it's for. And not only can we provide you with that emotional support, but also with resources that may be helpful to you. Resources in advocacy, resources in safety planning, resources in seeking shelter. There's a lot of agencies and organizations out there, and we can try and help you find them. We know a lot of them, but there's so many of them. If you're looking for help, we can provide advocacy for you. Good morning, Judy. Judy says, good morning, everyone. Hope all is well today. Odessa says to Karen, thank you for your share. It is good to hear that you've been trying to practice self-care this morning. Joining us is one self-care act that you are doing currently. Doing self-care can at times be very difficult, especially when we are being impacted emotionally, physically, and by our emotions and thoughts. Regardless of all the self-care we do every day, we still can be impacted by our emotions and thoughts. And this is where we'll go into emotional freedom tapping. Oh, I have just a couple more comments, so let's make sure to talk to our relatives first and reflect. Avery says she's feeling good today, thinking this will give me the motivation to get tasks completed. I haven't been able to focus well this week. Yeah, Avery, glad you're here with us to reflect. We can do some breathing, we'll do some tapping, and we'll see if that helps. Judy says, checking in, feeling relieved, rested, and so much better. Asthma is good. I feel pretty good today and moving on. Good to hear, Judy. Thank you for your share. Roberta says, today I feel grateful and finally got my chaga and maple syrup morning coffee. Roberta, how is it? I wish I was drinking that. Sounds delightful. Karen says, thank you for sharing, Malia, sending a big virtual hug and holding space for you. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, relatives, we're here shoulder to shoulder. I'm not a sage. I'm not a medicine woman. I'm just here like you as a human being in this human experience, supporting you and you supporting me, and we're supporting each other. That's what it's about. That's community activated medicine. It's not complicated. It's just us being together, supporting and giving out the love. Avery says that sounds delicious. And Avery says, yes, Malia, big hugs for you. We are here for you as you are here for us. I feel that, Avery. I love you guys. Thank you. Trini, good morning. How are you doing today, Trini? Glad to see that you're here. Trini says, yep, it's one of those days today. All right, Trini, if you want to get into it, feel free. You can always talk about it. We can reflect and hold space. Marissa says, I'm feeling sore this morning. Didn't get much sleep last night. I've also been haunted by guilt and my past mistakes. I wonder if I could make other choices in raising my son without his dad around. It bothers me that he has a disabled mother. Oh, Marissa, sending you lots of love. If there is one thing that I do know is us moms, we have this, and not to discredit the dads or anyone else, but us moms can hold guilt like, man, moms can hold a lot of guilt. We're always worried about doing the best thing for our children, and sometimes it can be really, really tough. So thank you so much for your share, Marissa. Avery says, I hope your day goes better moving forward. Thank you, Avery. Marissa says, trying to be the rock that he needs, but feels so weak, especially this morning. Odessa says, Marissa, you are strong. If you're in need of extra support, please feel free to text or call our Cares Warm line. For real, Marissa, we mean that. For real, guys. All right, let's get into emotional freedom tapping, because especially, Marissa, and for those of us out there who are just, Trini, if you're having one of those days, any of our relatives out there, if you're having one of those days, this is a really powerful and easy technique. Like deep breathing, it doesn't require anything. It doesn't cost anything. We can do it right here. We can do it right now. So I'm just going to give you kind of like the overview of emotional freedom tapping. First of all, there are points in our body, energy points in our body, that are called meridians. And meridians are like places like here, here, and here, and here, and here, here, across our, where the finger lines are, kind of here by our collarbone, by our heart, even under our arms, like kind of like where your rib cage is, right here, the top of our heads. And there's a lot of other meridian points, but these are the ones that we can focus on. So these energy points in our body, what does that have to do with emotional freedom tapping? Well, literally, we're just going to tap these areas. Now, today, we're just going to start really basic. We're not even going to come up with because we can come up with words or affirmations. And basically with emotion freedom tapping, you can kind of identify those feelings that are like feeling negative to you or that aren't serving you. When I say things that aren't serving you, generally what I'm referring to are like limiting thoughts or beliefs or like negative things that just make you not feel good. When we're feeling those things, and like I said for me last night, sorry guys, my hair's like crazy. I come as I am sometimes. All the time actually. Um but when we're feeling those emotions, like that guilt, the sadness or whatever, we can actually go into addressing those emotions verbally and then replacing it with a positive emotion and tapping. We're not going to go that far yet today. Let's just start with those points. So, with our tapping, what we can do is you can do 2 fingers, you can do 3 fingers. Some people it might be like an overall like pat with all 4 fingers. It might even just be 1 finger. Okay, so you can decide how you want to tap. Is it 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers? I like the 2. I don't know. I just feel comfortable with 2. And the first meridian point that we can start with is right across that line that goes by our fingers here, and we can just tap. So in this case, we're just going to do some broad taps. So if last night, I did this last night because I was feeling guilty. I was feeling mom guilt, major mom guilt, decisions I made in my past. We're talking like 12 years ago, 8 to 12 years ago. So I started tapping last night and it helped me fall asleep. So we can tap anywhere from like 4 to 12 times. Let's try the other side. All right, now the other meridian points that we can tap it is kind of right here at the beginning of the eyebrow. And we can just tap here too. I'm just deep breathing while I'm doing this. We can tap right here, like at that bony part, like um, kind of at your temple. And then we can also tap here, that bony part, sort of like just where the softness of your eye is, and then you can kind of feel that ridged part of your skull right there. I know it sounds creepy, we're skull tapping, but just tapping here, kind of in the center. And then we're gonna go ahead and we can tap just 1 finger or 1 hand right above the lip underneath the nose. And then we can tap above the chin. This is just below the lip, right above the chin. Now this part, when we get to this area, kind of by our collarbone here, we can tap here, but I actually, when I get to this point, I like to just knock, like a door knock, because our body can tolerate a little bit more there. I know it's making my voice funny. We can tap here, and we can tap on the other side. Feels good, actually. It's very soothing. And then we can lift up our underarm, and right here, sort of at the base of our here. So here's the bottom of my rib cage. So I'm going sort of sidewards, and then we can tap here. And then we're gonna take it to the other side. I know it's kind of funny, this action, to do it like in front of you guys, but this is what we do. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take it to the top of my head. And this, when I'm given to this point, again, we can use a little bit more stimulation, so I'll use all fingers and just tap. Okay, so let's try it from the beginning again. We'll do this 2 more times. We're going to go eyebrows. We'll go kind of by the temple. We'll go ahead and we'll tap right here, where that kind of like the part where your skull is, just below the soft part of your eye. 1 hand below, above the lip, below the nose. Tapping just below the lip, above the chin. Now we're going to go ahead and knock kind of by our collarbone here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to knock on the other side. This will actually regulate you. So if you're feeling activated, anxious, okay, let's go ahead and tap by the rib cage here. And like I said, once I hit the collarbone and the rib cage, I start knocking like on a door. And finally, we're going to move back to the top of our head. And I keep all fingertips just open and tapping. All right, let's go ahead and start again. Eyebrows, temples, or kind of on the bony part of the cheekbone. We're going to work our way under the eyes, the bony part right here. We're going to go above the lip, below the nose. We're going to go below the lip, above the chin. We're going to go ahead and knock by our collarbone on one side. We're going to knock by the collar. I feel like Jane or Tarzan right now. But this is really, really good for our meridian points. It's going to help to calm us. We're going to go ahead and knock by our rib cage here on the side of our body. We're going to go ahead and knock on the other side. And then the top of the head again, fingertips open. Deep breath. All right, let's do some deep breaths now. We're going to finish with tapping the meridian points on our palms. One side. Other side, deep breaths in through the nose. Out through the mouth. One more on each side again. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. All right. Let's go ahead, relatives. And we're going to just finish by rolling. We'll roll our neck in just a moment, but let's just stretch our neck. We're going to look from side to center. Side to center, nice and gentle here. Then we're going to double tap our ear towards our shoulder, nice and gentle. Keep breathing. Other side. And then we're going to go ahead and roll that chin from shoulder to shoulder. Keeping our chin and neck in the front. You don't want to roll back. Just keep it in the front. A couple more on each side. Now we're going to look down gently towards our lap. And up towards the ceiling. Stretching the neck. How'd that feel, relatives? Emotional freedom tapping. A very, very powerful healing tool. When should we use that technique? When you're feeling depressed. When you're feeling anxious. When you can't sleep and you're experiencing insomnia. If you have PTSD. If you have physical pain. If you have illness. It might even be an external or emotional problem, like you're not getting along with someone that you love, or you're getting into an argument with a family member or a friend. What the tapping does, it helps us access our amygdala, which is basically like your lizard brain. It's like this part of your brain that when you are experiencing stress or fear or like these emotions that are causing you to be anxious, we sort of go into this fight or flight response. It increases our cortisol levels. It can get us more and more anxious. Our this part of our brain, the thinking logical part of our brain, starts to shut down, and we go to that lizard brain, and that's like where our brain is at. It's like primordial. It's fight or flight, and it perpetuates those feelings of anxiety and fear and worry and stress. When we tap, it can quite literally interrupt that. So even if you're out in public and you're like, hey, I don't necessarily want to be like knocking on my, rib cage and stuff while I'm like in a waiting room or at the grocery store, but you can tap like this. 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 You can even just tap the top of your head. Emotional freedom tapping. And this is a technique that's been around for like a long time. We're talking ancient, quite literally ancient. There's no joke when I'm saying like ancient Chinese secrets. It's quite literal. And then of course with modern research and things like that, go to a really good website where you can look more into emotional freedom tapping, because I by no means am an expert. I've had emotional freedom tapping training through the Institute. It's fascinating. Do look on tappingsolutionfoundation.org is a great way to start. Google it. It's awesome. You can learn more. You can even go on YouTube and learn more about it. But it's an awesome technique, and we'll dig deeper into it as time goes on. So just remember, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, and even it all through next week. Okay, let's go to our comment section. Trini says, remember that there are resources to talk about your feelings, options, and to receive support. Much love your way, Marissa. Being a mother has been my most difficult task. Yes, I agree, Trini. Motherhood, I remember being in college and feeling like so overwhelmed because I was working full time and I was going to school full time. And then I had a son, and then I'm like, whoa. And I still kept going to school full time and working full time. One of the hardest jobs we'll ever have is being a mom. Okay, so other comments. Trini says, my children are adults. I raised them on my own, and I still judge myself and question everything I could have done better. They are amazing people and love me, but I still beat myself for I did wrong. I felt many times to recognize everything I did and continue doing right. Much love to all the moms out there. Trini, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Mom guilt is real, moms. Doesn't matter how good a mom you are. At some point, that mom guilt comes creeping in. And when that does, tap, 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 tap. Deep breathe, stretch. Be kind to yourself. Positive self-talk. If you're feeling that way too, tell your kids you love them. Reach out to them. Your kids want you to be happy too. Odessa says, thank you, Trini, for your share. Yes, love to all the moms out there. We all do the best we can. There is pressure of being the best mom due to a lot of different pressures from society, from our cultures, from our family, and a lot from ourselves. Being able to identify the guilt is important because then we can remind ourselves. This all reminds me of the idea that Brené Brown talks about, which is guilt versus shame. Guilt is focusing on a behavior, while shame is about ourselves. I feel guilt for making a mistake. I feel shame for I am a mistake. When it comes to shame, the best thing we can do is to talk about it and validate why it's there. Brené Brown has a beautiful TED Talk about this, and I will share in the comments section. Thank you, Odessa. So there is a link to Brené Brown's TED Talk. I love the TED Talk rabbit hole. It's one of my favorite self-care practices to get into, is literally going on YouTube, getting into the TED Talks, and Brené Brown is a absolutely Wonderful, wonderful healer and speaker. Thank you for that share, Odessa. Trini says, thank you, Malia. Of course. All right. So also Odessa put the tappingsolutionfoundation.org website. It's a great website because it really just sort of talks about it in the most basic of terms for people who are just getting into it and really want to just have a rudimentary understanding. Avery says, I can relate. We're too hard on ourselves at times, and it's hard to forgive ourselves too. I'm working on being gentle with myself. Motherhood is absolutely the hardest thing I have ever experienced. It has taught me so much love. Leah's here, our founder and CEO. How you doing, Leah? Very lucky to have Leah here with us. She's able to drop in. Leah says, when we are under threat or assessing for threat or fear, we all have reflex coping within our central nervous system that is based on state-based functioning. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, immobilize. Thanks for sharing, Leah. So when you are feeling in those states, like for me, I know that I tend to, if I get scared about something or nervous about something or overwhelmed, I tend to flee. If I feel like I don't have that option to flee, I tend to fight. So or you might be one of those people, like, like how the rabbits do when they're scared and they just like freeze up. When you're in situations where you feel like those are one of your responses, tapping is a good part of your medicine kit that you can access right away to immediately help with that. Odessa says, yes, Avery, thank you for your insight. It takes a village to raise a child. And part of that is for us as women to seek support from others. That is part of the support. Marissa says, thank you all for your support. Odessa says, Marissa, thank you. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable in this space has allowed us all to share our own vulnerabilities. This is healing. Thank you for putting yourself into this space. Yes, and I do want to say, relatives out there, because I know so many of us are strong and resilient. All of us are. Sometimes being strong means that you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Sometimes being strong means allowing yourself to be vulnerable. When you're in safe spaces, when you're amongst someone that you trust, or you feel maybe by your gut intuition that vulnerability, a share, might be something that's helpful, that serves you, that can help you release something, that can help you reflect on something. That's a very, very powerful and strong action when it feels right for you. Claudia is our occupational therapist. She is part of the circle of care as we're practicing community activated medicine this morning. So occupational therapy, the most simplistic way I like to say is that occupational therapists really help with that mind-body connection, the way that we perceive the world, our sensory perception, and occupational therapists help us with that. And they help us to live a full life through their modalities. So Claudia's here, and she's here to support most of the times that we're here on these videos as well. So no, in the circle of care, the Institute is offering lots of team members. We're here for you. We're here for you with our different perspectives. Claudia says, good morning, Malia and Odessa and everyone. Better late than never. Distracted today by care for someone that I feel I let down. It's okay, Claudia. We're glad you're here with us. And relatives, it's a reminder, you come in anytime you want on these videos. Check in anytime you want. If you come in halfway through the video, check in, because we're here for you. You do this on your time. And Claudia, you got the guilt that we're talking about today. Don't feel guilty, Claudia. It's okay. Or do some tapping, Claudia. Give it some taps. Avery says, me too, TED Talks. Leah says, totally, mom guilt is real. The best self-esteem booster and self-esteem defeater is from being a parent. Practicing loving compassion. Take thoughtful pauses. And be gentle with yourself. Yeah. The mom guilt, or the caretaker guilt, or the guardian guilt, or the whatever guilt. It doesn't even have to be a parental guilt. We walk with guilt sometimes. And when you're walking with those things that aren't serving you, that don't feel good, hit that medicine kit up. Do something that'll make you feel better. Go to the deep breathing, stretch, be kind to yourself, tap. Do something joyful. Whatever it is that you need to do. Trust your insight on that and go for it. I want to say mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, relatives. As we are in the circle of care practicing community activated medicine. Malama ponoi kokino. Take good, righteous care of your body, your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Aloha nui. Huge love to you all out there. Before we go, there is a community survey that's linked to this video. It asks just a few questions. It's completely anonymous. If you haven't yet, relatives, please do take this survey. When Leah founded the HIR Wellness Institute, she knew that this organization would never charge a penny for healing. And this is how we're able to keep our services completely for free. So please, relatives, take that survey. It's super short. Not only does it help us keep our services going at no cost, it also helps us to understand how best to serve you. And that's what we're here for at the Institute, to walk alongside you as you determine how it is you're going to journey on your path of self-care, wellness, and mental health. Aloha to you all out there. Have a beautiful day. Remember to tap when you need it. And ahui ho aku no. We'll see you all later. Hope to see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Bye, everyone, and aloha.